I have fond memories of feeding the ducks with my parents at Michigan State, watching their adorable little beaks gobble up that stale, non-nutritious, moldy white bread. Memories. Hey there, pigeon people. Trace here for D-News. Feeding wild animals has been seen as a humanitarian movement for decades. In the late 19th century, Britain's Dicky Bird Society, which is real, required members to pledge to be kind to all living things, which even influenced kids to save crumbs from meals so they could feed birds. In World War I, it was recognized as our patriotic duty to feed birds so they could survive to eat insects that threaten America's crops and therefore the war effort. But is feeding wildlife beneficial to them, or, are we being oblivious and selfish humans once again? TBH, it depends on what you're feeding them. Feeding white bread to ducks is probably not a good idea. It's kind of like watching a 1-year-old smash their birthday cake and gobble it up. It might be fun to watch, but it's not really good for them. White bread lacks nutritional value. It's just full of calories. Yes, Scott, bread makes you fat. What you end up with are bloated ducks who are too full to eat the natural and nutritious food they're supposed to be eating. But fat ducks are far from the worst of it. An unhealthy diet can lead birds to contract angel wing, a deformity where their wings are unnaturally twisted out instead of held against their body. Birds with angel wing can't fly, and if they can't fly, they can't escape predators or avoid hazards like cars. White bread also affects their habitat when uneaten. These soggy carbs attract algae growth, which can spread diseases and attract pests like rats. And this foul play isn't just found with fowl. We need to stop feeding monkeys too. A recent study in the Applied and Environmental Microbiology journal looked at our relationship with green monkeys. That's a species, not actually a green monkey, although that'd be really cool. Humans not only gave monkeys peanuts, but in doing so, they also passed on diseases, specifically a bacterial infection called Staphylococcus aureus. That's science speak, by the way, for staph infection. Remember how we learned that we can contract diseases from animals? Turns out it's a two-way street. Samples of the bacteria were taken, then tested from the noses of monkeys and humans through a technique called high-throughput sequencing. The results showed that S. aureus was indeed transmitted through human-to-monkey contact. Though staph infection is relatively minor, generally causing skin infections and boils, it can become serious for monkeys if it enters their bloodstream, where it can cause toxic shock syndrome. It should be known that not all wildlife feeding is necessarily bad. One recent study published in the Oxford Journals observed 6 sites in Chicago throughout the course of 3 years, both with and without bird feeders. They compared the birds' stress levels, body condition, reproductive physiology, immunity, and feather quality, and it turns out bird feeding significantly influenced the health of the birds. Surprise! But not all influences are positive. Disease was more prevalent with bird feeders, but a majority of the birds seemed better equipped to handle it based on their low stress levels and greater antioxidant capacity. Of course, this is only one study in one specific part of the world, so when it comes to feeding wildlife just because you think they might be hungry, don't. Wildlife has survived without humans since, well, the millions of years before humans. We typically aren't doing them any favors by giving them food, but if you want to continue your duck feeding tradition, consider their diet. Try feeding ducks defrosted peas, cut grapes, or even uncooked rice instead. Now that you can keep your bird feeder, do you want to show the whole World Wide Web all the cool birds you've been seeing in your backyard? Well, now you can with your own website. No domain extension will help you tell your story like a .com or .net domain name. And because you watch D-News, you can get 15% off domain.com's names and web hosting by using the code DNews when you check out. What about feeding your own pets people food? Don't worry, we got that covered too. Check out this video here. If dogs evolved alongside humans, as evidence suggests, then they were eating the same things that we were eating. But today, Americans often avoid giving dogs people food. So what changed? Are there any other animal questions you're curious about? You can ask them down in the comments, and then you can subscribe so you get all the answers to those questions too. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on D-News.